Hey everybody, it's Brenda with Queen Bee RV.
Dana with Empower RV. We're back again at the National RV Training Academy, bringing you another episode of 52 Ways to Empower Women RVers. Today's episode is going to be all about water heaters. I know we've all had this question. You have a new unit new to you, or you have just come back after winterization,
right?
And you want to get ready for that summer camping season. And you've got to figure out, okay, I've got to get water into my water heater. I've got to make sure everything's working properly so I don't burn out the heating element. So Brenda, why don't you tell us a little bit about how we make sure we have water in here?
Okay, I would love to. And we have this handy little prop,
yes.
of course, that we stole from the Big Red Schoolhouse. So we can show you up close and personal. First of all, there are two ways that water can get into the tank. It's by way of the water distribution system, our plumbing system in the RV, and that can be populated with water, let's say, by the city water connection or your freshwater tank fill. I will tell you, even though you can fill this from your onboard holding tank, it's at least 6 gallons or 10 gallons. So if you have access to city water, go ahead while you have utilities and get this full and not deplete your onboard storage tank. But if it's the first time of the season, water's going to be coming into this tank via the plumbing system, and the inlets are actually on the back here. You cannot see. There's a cold water supply in and hot water leaves out of another.
And this is what we see when we go to the side
Right,
of our
this
rig.
is exactly, this is on the side of the RV when you open your water heater compartment. So it will automatically, whenever city water is turned on, it or the fresh water, the distribution system will run through here with one caveat: the bypass handles. So this is always that big mystery that people get boogered up on all the time. The bypass handles, when it was winterized, or maybe you haven't been camping in a while, or they did a repair, they will usually bypass the water heater.
Right.
When it's winterized. They don't want to send all that pink stuff through the tank and fill it all up. It's just a waste. So they will bypass the water heater. So whenever you want the water heater to fill with water, it needs to be, the bypass handles need to be in normal use position. If you have a Nautilus system, you have little stickers showing you exactly what position your handle should be in. So how do you know whenever water is coming in here? The first time, if you're standing near here, you can actually hear water rushing into it. Also, if you did have it on, you can do this little test. If the water heater is on and you come out here to the P&T valve, which is the pressure and temperature relief valve, and you lightly touch it. It's not going to burn you, but this is brass. If there's hot water on the back side of that, then it heats that little P&T valve. So you can lightly touch it, and if it's cold, then you know something is up. So now you know how water gets into here. Let's talk about how is this powered? How do we get this water warm?
Every water heater is powered by propane, and some are powered by electric.
Right.
So if you have a propane-powered water heater only, for instance, if you have an on-demand system, you don't have the option of electric, your propane is going to be what's powered it. So you want to make sure that you utilize that propane and conserve it only when you really want the water heated at that moment in time. So if you're powered by propane and electric, you might want to do electric first. It's going to take about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes to heat all the water inside this tank using electric. It'll take about half the time, 10 to 15 minutes if you're using propane. So that's one thing to think about when you're getting to a campground. If you're getting there with little kids and you're ready to get them bathed and in bed because you have a full day the next day, you might actually want to turn on both electric and propane. It's gonna heat it faster. It's kind of double the work, and then as soon as it's heated, you can turn off the propane and just keep it heated with electric. So you can actually use both of them to get it started, and then just go with electric after the fact.
So you're just kind of thinking about what resources do I want to conserve? Is that really an issue? And if you have access to utilities, we can use electric.
You've already paid for the campground most likely, so use that electric. Conserve that propane for those boondocking opportunities. Another thing to consider is if you have an on-demand system, those are powered by propane, and those are actually off until you are calling for hot water. So you're not actually using propane to keep that water heated. It's on demand, it's instantaneous, a couple of seconds at the most. But one thing to consider when you're using an on-demand system is when you're in the shower, you want to have that water temperature set to about as what you can tolerate with the water on full hot, because it is a pressurized system. As soon as you turn it the valve to hot, it's going to trigger the propane, get it started, get that on demand working, and send you the hot water that you need. If you start adding that cold water, that pressure that you've called for is a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less, and at some point it'll kick off that propane. So you might want to consider making sure your on demand system is set to a temperature that you can withstand without any cold water added.
So that brings me to, and I do know you have an on-demand system,
I
and
do.
hers is adjustable, and I think the Truma is not. It's set at 120
Right,
degrees,
right.
so you're just going to have to figure that out and read your manual. So people ask all the time, should I leave my water heater on all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the scoop. Like Dana said, on demand, that one is set to be on all the time, but the propane flame is not burning the
Correct.
whole time. It's just waiting for the human to call for it, and then it'll kick on, but it turns it off as soon
Right.
as the human doesn't call for it. On these tank style, if you have it on propane, set to propane, and if you have a tank style that is propane only, and you leave the water heater control button on all of the time, this is trying, your circuit board is trying to maintain a constant temperature. It'll allow it to cool down to a certain point, and then it's going to say, hey, flame, kick back on. The water's getting too cool. And so it'll keep that cycle going and keep using propane even if you're not taking a shower or doing the
Right.
dishes or whatnot. So if you have the choice, use electric.
Electric,
And then save that, the propane. If you are propane only, then you just turn the water heater on. Like I would turn it on 10 to 15 minutes before I needed to do
Right.
dishes or take a shower, and then turn it off immediately afterwards and just save it. I hope those tips were helpful, and if you like it, give us a like and comment below. Be sure to follow us on our social media channels, and we'll see you next week on another episode. Thank God for Garrett. I hope those